Don't look now, but the Miami Hurricanes just locked up the commitment of the number one player in the class of 2026, number one offensive tackle, Jackson Cantwell, from the Show Me State. All 6'7", 305 pounds of him, just committed to Miami. This is huge. This is huge, both literally and metaphorically speaking, for Cristobal and this staff. What does it mean for the Canes? What does it mean for Miami recruiting? What does it mean for the future of Mario Cristobal's football program? We'll talk about it right now. Before we do that, though, make sure you are subscribed. We're going to talk about Miami a lot going forward. But Miami fans, you being subscribed lets us know you want more Canes content. So let us know that by subscribing. We appreciate you all in advance for being dialed in. Also, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JD PicKell. Want to hear from y'all with how you feel about Cantwell's commitment here. This is a big verbal to get, man. Very, very big verbal to get. But a lot of people are going to be very quick to be toxic and bitter and say, well, he just chose Miami because they probably threw a bag at him, right? Y'all, it's modern college football. This kid's the number one player in America. It would be abnormal. It would be ridiculous if he wasn't getting a pretty good chunk of change to go wherever he was going to college, Miami or otherwise. So that's the first part of this. The other part of this is if it was about money, let's pony up and pay the guy. Like anybody could have paid him then if it comes down to purely that. Have to believe, though, that why financially this maybe had a factor to play in the number one player in high school football's commitment. I also think that the fact that Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal, the head coach or the offensive line coach at Miami, I think their development of the offensive line and a guy like Penei Sewell, what he's doing right now in the NFL, seems like he's okay at the whole offensive line thing, was developed at a pretty high level when he was at Oregon with Cristobal and Mirabal. Francis Mauanoa, he's going to be a first-round pick this time next year, currently on the offensive line at Miami. There is like a legitimate professional development aspect of this for Jackson Cantwell as to why it would make sense to go to Miami. So I totally understand the desire to just say, oh, they paid him a bag. I don't think that was the only factor in this recruitment, just so we're all aligned here. Now, for Miami on the actual roster construction side of things, this is kind of how they've made their bed in Coral Gables, is it not? Like what I say a lot is if you're a coach in football, you can't change where you're from, not geographically, but from the football world. Like Mario Cristobal, he is from the trenches, played offensive line at Miami. It is going to be a thing for him every single year to have a formidable offensive line and defensive line. And we've seen that now kind of be his MO since his time in the 305. And so to me now, while they've stacked some impressive rosters together, they've stacked some impressive recruiting classes together now. Multiple top 10 classes already under Cristobal, trending in a positive direction now, landing the number one player in the class of 2026 in Jackson Cantwell. Like, that's what great teams do. They're built from the inside out, trenches out to skill players, and then they also have that depth to where when it comes time to win big games in November, you have those dudes up front. You have those dudes on your two deep on your roster that can go make plays for you and not miss a beat if you don't have your ones on the field for whatever reason. So, like, that to me is the next step now that Miami's going to take. They've done a great job with how they've assembled talent over Cristobal's time there, but now stacking those classes on top of what you already have with a Ruben Bain and a Mauanoa and all those things, and how you use the portal grabbing Carson Beck, this is that next phase for Miami. And Jackson Cantwell, to me, and his commitment is a signal fire to that, of where Miami's headed. One more thing I'll add here, because I think the narrative around Miami, to me, is a little bit skewed. Anytime you're a big logo in college football, and there's conversation around you preseason based on what you have on your roster, and you don't win a national championship or you don't win a conference championship, everyone's very quick to say, well, that's just what they are. They're always talked about because y'all want to get your clicks and get your thumbnails out there, but really we all understand, we all know the truth. They're not actually going to accomplish anything. And what I would say is there's that narrative, but there's also how things are in reality. In reality, Miami has gotten better every single year since Mario Cristobal has been there. Miami has continued to trend upward both from a wins and losses perspective and a roster talent perspective. So in college football now, it's funny, it's not necessarily a thing where you kick the door down on the first try. That rarely happens. Like, we've seen it in some instances, but really it's a pretty rare occurrence for you to have one big pop year, win the conference, make the playoff, win a national title. Usually you got to kick the door a few times before you break it down. Miami's been kicking out the door for a minute here. So adding a Jackson Cantwell, that is them corking the bat, That is them rearing back to take another kick at this door. And I'm telling you, you do the right things over a certain stretch of time. You stack classes. You get commitments from a Jackson Cantwell. You go grab a portal quarterback in a Cam Ward, portal quarterback in Carson Beck. You do the right things over a certain period of time. Eventually, man, you kick through that door. And so people can say what they want about Miami and say what they want about what they won't accomplish, and, well, they haven't, so they won't. I'm just saying, I would be very slow to make any definitive statements about what Miami is going to be here in the future, especially when you just landed the top player in the class of 2026, and how I have to imagine that's going to benefit them when it comes to adding other top talent on the recruiting trail here in this class and in this cycle. So, people said it about Kirby. He can't win the big one. He's not the guy. And then he's got 2 national titles at Georgia. Ryan Day, he's not the guy to get Ohio State over the hump. Won a national title last year. Dan Lanning, is he the guy at Oregon to actually be elite? They just won the Big Ten last year after all the discussion of what he wasn't his first 2 years at Oregon. Third year they get it done. So we'll see what happens, but I'm buying stock in Miami, and this Jackson Cantwell commitment I think only bolsters that value. So appreciate y'all being locked in. Again, Hurricane fans, make sure you are subscribed. Let me know how I feel about this one. But a big-time get for the Canes. Cantwell to the U, given his verbal. Appreciate y'all being locked in. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.